Oh. ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः नारायणं पद्मभुवं वसिष्ठं शक्तिं च तत्पुत्रपराशरं च व्यासं शुकं गौडपदं महान्तं गोविन्दयोगीन्द्रमथास्य शिष्यं श्रीशङ्कराचार्यमथास्य पद्मपादं च हस्तामलकं च शिष्यं तं त्रोटकं वार्तिककारमन्यात् अस्मद्गुरून् सन्ततमानतोऽस्मि श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गे ईस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. In our study of Mandukya Upanishad, we have reached the Advaita Prakarana. The Karikas of Gaudapadacharya ji are based upon the 7th mantra of the actual Upanishad text itself. The Upanishadic text we have seen at great length. Then the Vaitatya Prakarana, the second chapter, is based upon the illusory nature of the pluralistic reality as experienced by the Jiva, the embodied soul that experiences the world of illusion. The Mithyatva Jagat is established. Now, the non-dual nature of this Brahman, non-dual nature of the self, Atma, is established. The second half of the mantra is what Gaudapadacharya ji is establishing, utilizing the example of the Mahakash, the great space on the outside, and Ghatakash, the small space within a pot. What is the similarities of the Akasha Tattva and Atma? It is based upon this 7th mantra. It says, Adrushtam cannot be seen, Avyavaharyam cannot be transacted, Agrahyam cannot be grabbed, for it has no parts, no limbs. Alakshanam cannot be indicated, has no qualities. Achintyam cannot be thought of. Why? Mind is matter, intellect is matter, intellect and mind both do not exist over there in this turiyam, in this absolute. Yet it is the intellect and the mind which has to utilize this mantra for the chintan of the fourth state beyond the waking dream and deep sleep. Avyapadeshyam, it is not available over here beyond description. uh, Ekatma Pratyaya Saram, it is of one massive, homogeneous mass of awareness principle. Prapanchopashamam, there is no such thing as the pluralistic existence of this world of illusion. There is no prapancha, five element created elemental world. Upashamam, complete cessation of the creation. Prapanchopashamam, shantam, it is silent. So Prapanchopashamam was taken in the second chapter, which is the illusory nature of the pluralistic world that was completely removed. Shantam, absolute peace. Shivam, absolute auspiciousness. Advaitam, non-dual. Chaturtham, it is called the fourth. It is referred to as the fourth only from the standpoint of the three. It is not literally the fourth. So, beyond the waking dream and deep sleep, it is referred to in technical language as the fourth, Turiyam. Manyante sa Atma, that Atma, that Brahman is what we are seeing in Gauda Padacharya ji's Karika. So now we see this example. So the we left off discussing Karika number 3, 4 in the Advaita Prakaranam, the third chapter. So we will start from there. Atma hyakashavat jivaihi ghatakashe rivoditaha ghatadivat sanghataihi jata vetau. Over here, nidarshanam, like that. It is nidarshanam over here. This is the illustration. What is the illustration? Atma, the self. Again, the fourth. The self is also referred to as the Brahman, Turiyam, Atma, all that we are discussing. The non-dual nature of Brahman. This is difficult to process, and that is why we are repeating this example from this all the way up to the ninth Karika. Non-dual nature of Brahman is established. So who is discussing? Us, the Jiva, the embodied soul. So the embodied soul is completely negated. This is difficult for us to swallow, absolutely difficult, because I am transacting and you are listening. Then who is talking and who's listening if neither one of these two exist? This is where Advaitam is difficult to process. But that is our nature. The self within is that non dual, and this example should allow us to do some nididhyasan, to do some meditation in quiet silence of our own mind that allows us to process these teachings so that we can rise in our own meditation. This allows us to dampen our fall in this pluralistic world. When we fall, when we hurt, when we are attacked by pain and sorrow and all those things, the dualities, Understanding, knowledge of this dampens our fall in this world. And in fact, it becomes a cause for our liberation. So now the jiva is talked about. Yatha, this illusory nature. In fact, non existence of jiva is talked about, not even illusory. He is saying it doesn't even exist. So this is where we start. It says, Atma hi akashavad jivaihi ghatakasho iva uditaha. So he says, Atma is like Akash. Atma is like Akash. Atma is subtle. Space is subtle. Atma is indivisible. Space is indivisible. Atma is qualityless. Space is qualityless. Atma is all pervading. Space is all pervading. With these things in mind, we enter this discussion over here. So Atma, like the space, not space, Atma like space, then jivaihi, the jiva is like what? Ghatakasha iva uditaha. Ghatakasho iva, as though, iva word is very important, as though uditaha, it has arisen like a pot space. So we have the great space, all pervading space, and a pot space. That pot space, we call it pot space. That pot space, which is within that pot, we call it pot space because of the existence of the pot. If the pot is not there, space is space. There would be no name which would have been created called the pot space. The very pot space is qualified by pot. So the existence of the pot has now brought for us a technical term called pot space to talk about. So the pot space arrives only because the pot arrives. The pot maker makes the pot. Does the pot maker make the pot space? No, the pot maker does not make the pot space. The pot is made by the pot maker. The very arrival of the pot creates the inside as though pot space, but there is only space. This is discussed over here. Gatadivaccha sanghataihi jata eto jata etad nidarshanam. Over here, ghatadivat, just like the pot which is created, as though when the pot is created, the pot space is created. So now we say that the pot space is like a jivatma, an embodied soul. And the akash, the great space outside the pot, all pervading space, is the paramatma, the absolute self. The paramatma and the jivatma are born only because we have a pot that has been created. Because of the pot, we are seeing. So now what is the relationship with the jivatma and the paramatma? This is discussed over here. And over here, Gaudapada Charya ji says The difference is in the word that we use, the words, but in reality, the same space which is outside is on the inside. There are no two spaces, space is one. The illusion of a part space is created because of the part. So that is discussed over here. Both of them are formless, both of them are all pervading, both of them are indivisible, and both of them, they remain uncontaminated. This idea now is discussed over the upcoming 9 karikas. Karika number 4 we discuss further. घटादिषु प्रलीनेषु घटाकाशादयो यथा आकाशे सम्प्रलीयन्ते तद्वज्जीवा इहात्मनि. So, घटादिषु प्रलीनेषु, just when the pot is broken, Gatadishu pralineshu, when the pot is pralina broken. Gata akashadayaha, the gata pot, akasha, the pot space, etc. All that. Yatha akashe sampraliyante, the pot space merges with the absolute space, is absorbed. Tadvat, in the same way, jivaha iha atmani, the jiva in the atmani, in the space. The pot, the creation of the pot creates the pot space. Now, that space, all pervading space, which was intransactable because of the arrival of the pot, the pot space now becomes transactable. It has a utility value. That pot space, I can do something with that pot space. I can fill it up with whatever ingredients that I want. And that pot space now has a utility value in it. So, with the arrival of the pot space becomes useful. The intransactable, all pervading space now becomes a transactable pot space. The all pervading self now in the pot of the body becomes a jiva. And as though it does not become a jiva, but that Paramatma now, because of the arrival of the body, can transact via the equipment of the body. That is to be understood, that now the jiva can transact. And the jiva in its transaction now has taken the pot to be real. And the jiva has taken the place where the pot exists to be real. And the jiva has now forgotten the fact that it is the great self to begin with. And because the jiva has forgotten that he or she is that absolute self, and he or she, the gender also arrives because of the pot. Now, having owned up the pot is the plight of the jiva. This is where the problem arises. Now, the transacting space says, I am a man, I am a woman, I am going through pain, I am going through sorrow, I am going through joy, I am going through happiness. All this transaction only at the level of the pot, because the pot space has now identified with the pot. So, our experience now is that the world is, and our experience is that the jiva is. And this world experience and the jiva experience creates limitations. So Gaudapadacharya ji is not challenging the experience, because we are talking, we are speaking, I am speaking, you are listening. So it is a real experience for you. You cannot deny the experience that you are listening to Mandukya Upanishad. But now what Gaudapadacharya ji is challenging is the existence of the jiva, the existence of the jivatva, that in reality the jiva is in fact non-different from the absolute self. That is what he has taken up over here, that when the pots are broken, the pot, when it is born, the pot space is as though born, not really it is born, because space only remains as space. Space in that pot is not born, it is there now, identifying with the pot. Arrival of the pot brings for the transactional level for the word pot space. So over here, when the pot is broken, it is said the embodied pot space merges. See, merging meaning there is a going, verb, movement, transaction. Is there really the going and the coming of the Atma? No. Atma is all pervading. Where will Atma go where it was not to begin with? So, this is what we have to meditate and chew this cud for us to understand that in reality, the moksha that I seek, I am mukta to begin with. But then when we wake up from our meditation, or even after this 1 hour Mandukya class is over, and when we embrace the world process, the world reality sets in, and this underlying thought is now replaced by I am the jiva, I am real, this body is real, I am the jiva living in the world, and the world is real. Aham dehaha buddhi, I am the body, and jagati satya buddhi, and the world is real, is what creates a torment for us. So the study of this Upanishad brings about the clarity that I, the jiva, am never born. The body is born. The body goes through the vikaras, the modification, but I, the self, am birthless, deathless, modificationless. Merging, there is no merging. When we take a spoonful of sugar, put it in the coffee or the chai and mix it, there is a merging of the sugar into the liquid, and the liquid is transformed with sweetness. The nature of the Paramatma is the same as the nature of the Jivatma. They are both awareness, Sat, Chit, Ananda, Ananta, Atma. They are both existence, consciousness, blissful infinitude is the nature of the jiva. So when it is said, when the part space merges with the supreme, there is no really merging. You can merge into a place, we can go to a place where we are not. So this similarly, the embodied self also merges with this atma. Does it merge? No, because it is one to begin with. Continuing example, the same example of pot space and the Gatakash Mahakash. Yatha ekasmin यथैकस्मिन् घटाकाशे रजो धूमादिभिर्युते न सर्वे सम्प्रयुज्यन्ते तद्वज्जीवा सुखादिभिः. Over here, yatha ekasmin ghatakashe, if in one pot, imagine Rajaha Dhuma Adi Bhir Yutaihi. In that one pot, there is some dirt, Raja. Dhuma, some smoke is there. If in one pot there is dirt and if there is smoke, sarve na samprayujyante. All other pots will not get contaminated if one pot is contaminated. If one pot has smoke, all other pots, there will be no smoke in all of them. Tadvat jivaha sukhadibihi. How do we explain the joys and the sorrows of various jivas? The joys and sorrows of various jivas, Gaudapadacharya ji says, is born out of the pot, some pots which have dirt in it are going to experience a dirty transaction. Some pots which are clean are going to experience cleanliness transaction. Some pots, if they have smoke, those pots are going to experience the dhumatva, but the other pots will not. There are people who smoke, and when the body is filled with smoke, that individual body gets contaminated and polluted for smoking. But just because one person smoked, that doesn't mean that the other bodies get contaminated. It doesn't work that way. Thus the doctor says you have to give up this habit. The doctor themselves is a non-smoker. Doctor examines and says that the smoke within is creating emphysema. It is creating some problems, breathing problems, and so many other things. So the individual joys and sorrows of the jivas is what is talked about over here. That just because one jiva goes through some sukha dukkhadi bhoga, the other jiva has its own individual sukha dukkhadi bhoga. The space within the pot remaining the same. Now the pot space, due to the arrival of the potness, experiences the individual world of the jiva. That is what Gaudapadacharya ji is saying. He is not again negating the experience of this world. Nobody can deny that. But he is questioning the reality of the jiva. Does jiva in fact exists in reality? And he says, no, no jiva is born, the pot is born. This is a big, big shift in our understanding, because we have lived with the notion that I am a body, with the notion that I am the body created problem. These realities, the conclusions drawn from the misunderstanding, is what he's questioning. The conclusion is that I am the body. That is wrong. That is what Gaudapadacharya ji is challenging. He is challenging our experience is that the world of objects are born, that the world of sentient beings are formed, are born, all those things. So Gaudapadacharya ji is challenging the birth of the universe and the birth of the jiva, because that is experience from the standpoint of the jiva. That's all. The jiva, because it accepts the body, it accepts the place and the world around it, and it says, I am born. Can jiva be born? No. Jiva is the absolute space. This conclusion that we have drawn is what Gaudapadacharya ji is taking up. So he is negating the creation of the jiva utilizing the logic of this space example. Now, there's Eka Jivavad and Bahu Jivavad. I am not going to get into any of those things. That will be extremely confusing. So, this particular shloka is over here, the Gurudev's commentary. He mentions that Eka Jivavad is what is refuted over here by saying that self alone is. Continuing, Karika number 6. Rupakarya samakhyaschya भिद्यन्ते तत्र तत्र वै आकाशस्य न भेदोऽस्ति तद्वज्जीवेषु निर्णयः. Now, Gaudapadacharya ji is saying, Rupa, form, Karya, the function, then Samakhya, Akhya, some story or something like that. So what is meant as Samakhya? That which is labeled, meaning name. So form, function, and name. Vidyate tatra tatra vai. The forms are varied, the functions are very many, the names are very many. We just cannot call everybody, pot space 1, pot space 2, pot space 3. So when a child is born, the name is given. Just simple logic. We cannot just call everybody Akash, 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 Akash. Neither can we call everybody Ghatakash, Ghatakash, Ghatakash. So, meaning part space, part space, part space, and space, space, space. It'll become nightmare for us if everybody in the world is called space. So, for the transactional purpose, the form, its associated name differ, and their functions also differ. Different people, different talents, different careers, different ways in which they can contribute. Again, we are saying contributing to the world is not born. See, all this creates a gamut, a flurry of thoughts for us to contemplate upon. What is the reality of the nature of the world? What is the reality of the nature of me, the jiva? So he's negating the jiva over here. So he's saying, Akashasya na bheda asti tadvat jiveshu nirnayaha. But in the space, there's no difference. Like I said, it would be easier to call everybody space, 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 space. But then that is a nightmare. It'll create a nightmare for all of us. Who's referring to whom? So the differences are at the level of pot. And rupa, karya, samakhya, vidyate, it differs. And as the form, as the name, as the guna, the quality of a person, they will completely uh, they will abide in themselves in that way. But in reality, over here, the uh, in reality, Gaudapada Charya ji is saying that contemplate in the silence, in the quietude of your own mind, that in reality, what we have accepted ourselves as the body, the name, the form, yes, at the surface level, we are all different, but our nature, I am this Satchidananda Brahma. In reality, I am Advaita. And that Advaita can never ever become Dvaita. The great space can never ever, in reality, be cleaved. It cannot be broken, snapped, sliced into various parts. That is what he's going to talk about in the next karika talks about this. Nakashasya gatakasho vikaravayavau yatha naivatmanas sada jivo vikaravayavau tatha. So he's bringing two different concepts. Yatha, just like, ghatakashaha, the part space, na akashasya vikara avayavo. The space inside the pot is neither over here a vikar, a modification, an effect produced out of some cause, some transformation, and avayavo, a part. We cannot say a part space is a part of the great space. I mentioned that space is one homogeneous existence. If I take this book, imagine this were a 4 by 4 piece of wood, and if I take a saw and I cut it, it will be in two different pieces. The book will convert itself into two pieces if I slice through. In the space, when I create the wall, have I cut the space into this space and this space? No. Objects, when we cut, it falls into two different places. When we create a wall in space, does it go into two different places? Does the space gets divided? No. The wall has arrived in the space. The space has not been disturbed by the existence of the wall. This we have to really process. And over here it is saying the space in the pot is neither, over here, a vikar. What does vikar mean? Parinam. When uh, milk is turned into yogurt, that is called parinam. Milk changes itself into yogurt. Now, once you have yogurt, yogurt cannot go back to being milk. That change is final. Milk turning into yogurt, it is a complete modification. So much so that milk loses its nature of milkness, and now yogurt, another entity, is created out of that same milk, which has different qualities now. So, did Brahman modify himself like milk turning into yogurt when the pot space was created? Absolutely not. That Advaita Brahman remains Brahman, and it never modifies itself into the pot space. The pot space arrival is only because of the arrival of the pot, not the arrival of the pot space. Pot space has always been there as space. It is labeled pot space. So, vikara means dvaita. Dvaita sampradaya is negated over here. Duality, I am here, you are there, and forever the jiva is separated from Brahman. This is not the standpoint of Advaita. Advaita means the jiva is Purna Brahman to begin with. And there is no such thing as a jiva. This is what is established over here. Now the other one is avayavo. Over here, avayavaha. Avayavaha, part. Just like I said, that log of wood, when it is cut, two parts are created. So when the pot is created, are we cutting off a part of the space and putting in it? So then all different pots will have pot spaces, different pot spaces, different pieces of space in different pots. This is the standpoint of Vishishta Advaita. That is also not the standpoint of Advaita. Ramanujacharya ji establishes the Vishishta Advaita point, but Shankaracharya ji, the champion of the Advaita philosophy, his grand guru over here, Gaudapadacharya ji, establishes the ekattva, the oneness of the space, that in the creation of the pot, and when the pot space is as though imagined, that pot space is neither a modification of Brahman or space, nor is it a part of Brahman or space. Thus, the jiva is not modified. Jiva is not a modification. Jiva is not a part. Jiva is Brahman. And Brahman alone was, is, and will be. Brahman alone is. In fact, no jiva has arrived. Difficult. But this gives us so much mental peace and comfort, knowing that I am the all pervading self. I am ever a self. Never was I ever born. Never am I ever transformed. All these are the experiences, are just experiences. I should not draw a conclusion that just because the body goes through pain, I, the self, am going through pain. No, I experience the pain, no doubt. I experience the pain, no doubt, but I am not the pain. Pain never was part of me. Pain never is a part of me. The conclusions drawn from our experience of the pluralistic world is what is challenged over here by Gauda Padacharya ji. So, the enclosed space, is it a product of the total space? If it is, then it implies a cause effect relationship. If it implies a cause effect relationship, that means Brahman had some ulterior motive cause to create the effect of the jiva. Brahman with desire, if we say Brahman has desire, that itself negates the omniscience, omnipotence, omnipresence of Brahman. Not even one desire exists in Brahman. Then how can he be the cause of the creation of the jiva? That is refuted over here by saying vikar. Lot of things are implied over here. So this implies that implies that there is a cause effect relationship, but there cannot be any cause effect relationship, for Brahman has absolutely no cause. Brahman has, absolutely no desire to create an effect. Then the enclosed space, is it a part of the total space? This implies that there is a part whole relationship. I just said there cannot be a part whole relationship. This relationship, if it is a part whole relationship, it is a standpoint of Vishishta Dvaita. But in the non dual, the word Advaita, non dual, means there is no second. If there is no second, how can there be parts? Parts means manyness. So that is also refuted. Now, continuing, Karika number 8. Yatha bhavati balanam gaganam malinam malaihi tatha bhavatya buddhanam atma uh, Atma Pimalino Malaihi. So now Gauda Padacharya ji saying Yatha Balanam, just like the children, children meaning inferior buddhi, that's all. A child cannot be expected to think like a rocket scientist. A kindergartner is only going to ask a kindergartner questions, that's all. And we cannot get mad for a little boy, 5-year old, asking, "Mm, why does the rain fall?" And then we have to give him a story about the rainfall. Oh, there is an elephant hidden up there, a very big one. Nighttime, he took the water from the ocean and shoom, now he's throwing. You have to make up all these things. And that he will understand. But you pull out the science of weather phenomenon and start teaching a 5-year old. He's going to look at you. The appa has gone crazy. That's all. So Gaudapadacharya ji says, like people of inferior understanding is what he implies by Balanam. Yatha Balanam Gaganam Malaihi Malinam Bhavati. Just like the Gaganam, the space appears to be dirty to the ignorant children. In the same way, Tatha Bhavati Abuddhana. This is a very important word. In the same way, abuddhanam, the ignorant ones, abuddhanam, api, atma, the self, atma, malaihi malino bhavati. It appears to be soiled. It appears to be contaminated. It appears to be many. It just goes on and on and on. The different conclusions people draw out of the experience of the embodied limitedness brought about by the existence of the pot or the body, the limitations brought upon by the body are now superimposed upon everything else. I am dirty. I am man. I know. I don't know. I am wise. I'm unwise. All these notions are created, and this notions created reality becomes the actual reality of the jiva. Just like a child says the space is contaminated, and the space is dirty. In the same way, now the jiva says, my mind is dirty, my intellect is dirty, I'm not intelligent, I'm not smart, I don't understand. All these notions are born. So, what is implied over here that the avidya created problems, the ignorance created problems can only be removed by knowledge. The child has to necessarily grow up. And when the child grows up, there is a learning which is associated with growth. In the same way, when the jiva grows up, as though the jiva grows up, a body is growing every day, even though in the illusion world, even though the illusory body, Gaudapadacharya ji says, the illusory time also acts upon this body, and one fine day you will have all gray hair. One fine day the hair will start receding. One fine day we will require cataract surgery. One fine day we will have to have a stick for walking. One fine day we will just say, no vacations, my home is fine. This is called aging. So, as the physical body ages, what is the aging of the confusion? Should the confusion also keep on aging? Then I perpetuate my jivatva, and I perpetuate my sorrow, and I perpetuate future lives, future sorrow, future bondage. This one life with one family over, another life with another family. At least this life, the human parts were surrounding us. We don't know what kind of parts will be surrounding us and which pot we will be in the next birth. Could be a dog pot, a cat pot, a cockroach pot, a mosquito pot, elephant pot. And Bhagavad Gita and other Shastra, this Upanishad doesn't even talk about the destiny of karma because he doesn't even accept it. He's at such a high level, he's saying no jiva exists. So, this Karika over here comes and says that the mind and the intellect created impurities can only be removed by the Shastra Adhyanan, by the study of the scriptures, the mind and the intellect can be purified. And when the mind and the intellect are purified, and the knowledge of the Advaita dawns in such a mind and intellect, that mind and intellect now has grown, and that is the growth of the jiva. The child grows in the same way the jiva has to grow in knowledge, not the physical age. Many a children are much more spiritually evolved than their tatas and patis, grandparents, nana nani and dada dadi. And so this karika says that may one come to study scriptures, purify themselves, and remove the avidya. Avidya has created a notion of dvaita, jivatva, experience reality as real. When the ignorance is gone, the same jiva who now does not accept themselves to be the jiva but Paramatma alone, Brahman, now arrives in the same pot. But now see, the consciousness can transact with a pot. The outside, all pervading consciousness cannot transact. But the pot allows the consciousness to transact. And in that pot of a self realized soul, he can say, I am Atma Brahma, which is this Upanishad's Mahavakya we saw. And all this is Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi and I am Atma Brahma. Because the identification is not, even though in the pot, intellectually and abidance is in Brahman. The Brahma Jnana, when it happens, the self realized soul has dissolved the Jivatva and picks up the Upadhi and says, I am Brahman. Experiences the world of plurality, doesn't accept the world of plurality, negates it at the level of understanding. Yes, this experience is, but I am not that. I'm infinite. If I am infinite, how can the finite event touch me? It is the movie screen which sees the movie, is in all parts of the movie, yet doesn't own up the movie. It ever remains apart from the movie. In the same way that Jiva in this pot of this body, self realized soul says, I am not this. Others are this Balanam. The one who has not understood this are like children. A Buddhanam, those ignorant ones. We will contemplate upon this, and the last karika example of this pot space, I thought I wanted to complete all this example and then move into a next section, but it's okay. Tuesday morning we will continue. A lot to think about. Don't start talking about this to everybody in your family, your friends. It is for you to contemplate. This Nididhyasan is for us. This is very high that no Jiva is born. I am only Atma. No Jiva is born. Hari Om. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Sarve santu niramayaha. Sarve bhadrani pashyantu. Ma kaschit dukha bhag bhave. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.